This structure that I have here today is the first one made out of plastic. This happens to be the American Girl Barbie, and she first came out in 1965. Now, she was never actually marketed or called the American Girl Barbie by Mattel. This just happens to be a name that she was given among collectors. This house is obviously perfect for the bendable leg Barbie and Skipper. They can easily sit here in the living room and hang out and chat with one another and cross their legs and do all kinds of things that they couldn't do back when they had their straight legs. Hey everyone, it's Ian here, and welcome back to my channel. I am super excited for today's video because I'm going to be sharing with all of you the 1965 Sears exclusive deluxe house for Barbie and Skipper. Now, being someone who is a huge enthusiast of mid-century decor and the overall aesthetic that came with the mid-century modern era, this was a must-have for my collection. Before I dive into the actual structure and show it to you in a little bit more detail, I do think it would be really great to speak to you a little bit today about 1965. That wasn't just the year that this structure came out, but it was a pivotal year for Barbie because there was a lot of innovation that happened with Barbie in this year. This happens to be the American Girl Barbie, and she first came out in 1965. So back in 1964, Mattel released Miss Barbie. She was the first doll in the entire line of Barbie to have bendable legs. However, ironically, she wasn't actually marketed for her bendable legs. Instead, she was marketed for this sleep eye mechanism that she had. She wasn't a very well-liked or favored doll, and she was only in the market for 1964. But in 1965, that same body was reintroduced on a new doll. So even though a doll with bendable legs was released in 1964, it wasn't until 1965 on the American Girl Barbie that Mattel really started marketing this message. Every box stated that this doll now had lifelike bendable legs. Now, she was never actually marketed or called the American Girl Barbie by Mattel. This just happens to be a name that she was given among collectors. In 1965, the first release of the American Girl Barbies actually had a little bit of a shorter bob hairstyle, and then in 1966, they had the long-haired American Girl Barbies, as well as one of the most valuable and expensive Barbies that exists today, and she is known as the side part American Girl Barbie. She had very voluminous hair and a part that was off to the side of her head, and then she also had a little sash, or maybe it was a little bow actually, that wrapped around the perimeter of her head. These dolls are very sought after, and because they were only produced in 1966, they are some of the most expensive Barbie dolls that you will ever find in the secondhand market today. In 1965, we enter the 1600 series of Barbie's fashions. Now, a lot of these fashions are very glamorous, very well made, and very beautiful. These clothing items were not in production for as long as some of Barbie's iconic fashions. Therefore, they are also some of the most expensive outfits that you will find on the secondhand market. The other thing I'll note about 1965 and just this overall era of Barbie is we do start to see a few more outfits that are inclusive of slacks, not just dresses. And I think that is also very reflective of the changing time in fashion for women and women's rights in general. Not only did Barbie get bendable legs in 1965, but so did her little sister Skipper. This is a 1965 edition of Skipper, and she is also on the bendable leg body. I absolutely love her. She's in really great condition. Midge, Alan, and Ken also got bendable legs in 1965, but it is important to note that some of the straight leg dolls were still available in the market as well. So that was just a little bit of information about the changes that happened to the Barbie line by Mattel in 1965, but I know you clicked on this video to check out the house and the structure, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. I do think it's important to note that this is the first house of Barbies to not be made out of cardboard. Barbie's original dream house that came out in 1962 is made entirely out of cardboard, and the second dream house ever made, Barbie's new dream house, was also made out of cardboard. This structure that I have here today is the first one made out of plastic. The other thing that I really like about this structure is that it really reminds me of a case in a way, and it carries that way too. So once you close it up, you can kind of store it like you would your doll cases. There are two latches at the top, and you just simply lift those up and then you pull the house out. In terms of assembly, you don't have to do anything, which already makes this house far less stressful than those cardboard houses that require so much work to put the furniture together. The fact that all of this is just built into the house is really cool, and this is a design mechanism that Mattel takes with them for many years to come, because even in my childhood, I remember a lot of these structures for dolls definitely followed suit with this type of style, where a lot of the furniture is just built into the structure. I really love the artwork on the exterior of this house. We have a beautiful graphic of Barbie. I believe she is wearing the sweater girl outfit. And then we have this really cute graphic of Skipper as well. I always love these old vintage graphics of the dolls. These illustrations are just so cute. And Skipper is also wearing Sweater Girl. So let's go ahead and take a look at the structure bare before I put any dolls or accessories inside of it. I absolutely love the graphics and the detailing that you see with the artwork, the built-in TV that's playing a movie of Barbie and Ken, the little bookcase, and of course, how can we forget this beautiful window here that gives you a view of Barbie's backyard. The closet space is really cool as well. You can't store a lot, but there is even a little storage unit underneath where you can put in some of your accessories, which I have done in the past. The one thing that I will say about this structure that is really off is the scale of the kitchen. It's so bizarre. The sink and the counter is kind of at the scale for Skipper, but even for Skipper, it's a little low. But having Barbie stand right next to it, it is just so off in terms of scale. All right, well, I think we have seen plenty of this house empty. Let's go ahead now and look at it up and close with all of the dolls. So I did try really hard when setting up this vignette to include as much as I possibly could from my collection that would have been from the era that this house was released. I will say that I'm not far off, but I don't own a lot of those fashions that came out in 1965 and 1966. They're just very hard to acquire and very expensive. This house is obviously perfect for the bendable leg Barbie and Skipper. They can easily sit here in the living room and hang out and chat with one another and cross their legs and do all kinds of things that they couldn't do back when they had their straight legs. And I also love the little vignette that I set up here in the kitchen with Skipper sitting at the table with Barbie, who looks like she's about ready to serve her some breakfast. Now, Barbie is wearing one of the very few 1600 series fashions that I own. This one is called Brunch Time. Moving on over to the bedroom here, I have Skipper chilling out on the bed, and she actually has a little baby with her because Barbie is babysitting. This is a set called Barbie Babysits. I believe the original version came out in 1962 or 1963, but there was an additional version that came out in 1965 during the American Girl era of Barbie. I have a number 7 ponytail who is modeling the outfit. She's actually wearing the outfit called Movie Date, and then over the dress, she's wearing the little apron that comes with the Barbie Babysits pack. Skipper is wearing one of her little pajama sets, and she even has her little slippers too, which I think is super cute. The one thing that I think is just amazing with Skipper is she's only 9¼ inches tall, and her clothing is just as detailed and as well made as Barbie's, which is just mind-boggling to me because trying to sew at that scale is so challenging, especially when it comes to sewing in seam allowance. Now behind Barbie, here over in the kitchen, we have a new doll that I want to introduce you to. This is Francie. Now, Francie actually was not released during the time period that this house came out. She came out about a year later in 1966. Times were really changing with the British invasion and popular music artists like the Beatles, and Barbie was starting to seem a little outdated and a little too domestic in terms of the way that she was marketed and in terms of the way that she dressed. So Francie was kind of that test market doll to see if Mattel could get away with launching a new look and a whole entire new line of fashions. So Francie did end up becoming so popular that in 1967, just a year after her release, Barbie was completely transformed as well to be given a new fresh look that was a little bit more representative of the mod era. And that is when the mod era really starts. I think it officially starts in about 1967, 1968, and that is when the clothing and the styles of Barbie changed dramatically, and we really start to leave the vintage era. So there you have it, my friends. That is my comprehensive overview today of the 1965 Sears exclusive deluxe house for Barbie and Skipper. I definitely would love to know in the comments below if you own this structure, and if today's video convinced you that you need this in your collection. I will say this. For as rare as this house is, it's actually still relatively affordable on eBay. I got incredibly lucky when I purchased this about a year ago. The seller actually really misspoke about the cost and shipping and actually just didn't charge me for shipping at all. So I only paid like $100 in total for this structure, which I think was an amazing deal. I don't think you'll probably get that lucky now, unfortunately, just with how much the prices have fluctuated, but I will say this, in general, housing structures and cases don't retain value as much as dolls and fashions do, generally speaking. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more content on vintage Barbie, Ken, Skipper, Alan, and Midge. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.